Welcome back to the Beat Factory 313, and I'm your host, Juice. And tell them who we got with us today, my brother.
It's the brother Bantu, BNTU Bantu.
What's going on, homeboy? How you been?
I'm well. I'm hanging in there. I'm in the struggle.
That's what's going on, man. It's good you called back, man. Give them a little example of who you are. Let the people know in the chat who you are and how you got here.
That's right. That's right. So actually, when I think about that question, when you just asked me that question, brother Juice, are you feel familiar with the brother George Jackson?
Yes, I am. Very.
All right, so let me tell you, viewers and listeners, who George Jackson is, just in case they don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So George Jackson was a comrade who was imprisoned in the San Quentin penal system in 1971. Actually, he was assassinated by a prison guard, shot and killed on the prison yard by a prison guard August 21st, 1971.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So George Jackson had a little brother. George Jackson was accused of throwing the prison guard off the gallery down to his death. So his little brother was attempting to liberate him and the other brothers who was falsely accused for killing this prison guard. His little brother's name was Jonathan Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan Jackson went into a courthouse in California armed with guns and gave the guns to a couple of the other prisoners who was going to court. They kidnapped the judge, the prosecutor, and a couple of jurors. Mm-hmm. But in the process, all of them was killed. So George Jackson, in his prison letters, he wrote a book called The Soledad Brothers, Prison Letters. And in reference to his little brother who got killed, George Jackson asked the question, I want y'all to wonder about what force created him. That is the man-child, courage in one hand, a machine gun in the other hand. So this is the question that George Jackson, asked in relation to brothers like his little brothers like me. That is, what conditions created us? That is, how do we end up, in these prisons, in these dungeons in the first place? And then answering this question, I often think about, since you asked me the question, I often think about something that the sister said, if your audience is familiar with the sister Assata Shakur. In 1973, Assata Shakur, speaking to who revolutionaries are and how revolutionaries are created, Assata said that revolutionaries don't just drop from the moon. She said instead they are created by their conditions, shaped by oppression in the ghettos. And I feel like in response to what Assata said, when you think about the drug dealers, the murderers, the gangsters, the drug addicts, all of these individuals, just like revolutionaries, were shaped by their conditions, shaped by oppression within these ghettos in which we come from. Me, I'm no different. I was shaped by my conditions from out of Black Bottom on the east side of Detroit, shaped by those conditions, framed by a crooked officer who wanted to see me off the street, put a murder case on me, and I've been in here in the Michigan Department of Corrections for the last 22 years as a result of that. So that's how I end up here. That's where I'm at. And ain't no doubt. And I'm in the struggle. I'm in the struggle not to only liberate myself, but in the struggle to raise the consciousness of our brothers and sisters so they don't have to end up in here like me. And now that I'm thinking about that, the crooked officer who framed me, who was a homicide officer, who has recently, few years ago, has been pushed off the force because of his corrupt behavior. And actually, just this month, on August 19th, one of the guys who was exonerated behind his activities just run a civil suit against him in the amount of $10 million.
Can you tell you the officer's name? What officer is this and what precinct?
Yeah, so this officer, he operated out of Southwest Detroit.
Oh, okay.
His name is Mosias Jimenez, Moesejimmenez, Mosias Jimenez. He's a Mexican.
Okay.
He largely operated out of Southwest Detroit, but because he was a homicide officer, obviously he can be the officer in charge of any homicide case, and he was the officer in charge in my case. And one of the things he told me was, now that we get you down here, you will not be leaving. The man told me, we've been looking to get you down here for years, and now that we get you down here, you won't be leaving. And he framed me. He put a case on me, no different than he put a case on several other guys. He has some other lawsuits pending against him right now. Three individuals of late have been exonerated behind this man, and I look to be exonerated as well.
That's what's up. So you got your things back in court yet? You got lawyers on it?
Absolutely. I actually have an innocent advocacy organization holding me down, working on my behalf. Just this past March, I took a polygraph, a lie detector test surrounded.
We ain't hear you.
Degree, they kind of tortured me down there when I was in 1300 phobia. You know, they beat me, they pulled knives on me, they pulled guns on me, all in attempt to get me to make a confession. When I wouldn't do that, they just wrote out a false confession. You know, so I just took and passed the polygraph of flying colors March 1st of this year.
Congratulations.
So Thank you, brother. So we moving forward and getting me exonerated, getting me out of this wrongful conviction. But another thing we doing in the process on the campaign level, because, you know, I know you probably heard of this whole saying that out of sight, out of mind. Oftentimes when we're disappeared in these dungeons, we become out of sight for decades, so we become out of mind. But for a lot of us, we stay connected to the streets, the ghettos in which we come from, and we stay connected to our brothers and sisters. We stay trying to raise their consciousness, but in the process, what the MDOC been doing is they trying to throw a monkey wrench in the connection with the people that we have. And so what they trying to do is they trying to tighten up the grip on visitation. So where prior to COVID, we were just our family, as long as they was on your visiting list and they was approved to visit, and it was a visiting day, they could just come up to the prison and visit you and get in, right? There was no time limits on how long they could stay to visit. But what they ended up doing during COVID, they had to create some different protocols to accommodate social distancing, make sure you keep people safe or whatnot. So the visits became shrunk. The visits was limited to only 2 hours, and only a certain amount of people can come, and it was only on a couple days. Now that COVID has long been over and all those restrictions have been lifted, what the Michigan Department of Corrections have decided to do, instead of going back to the pre-COVID visiting protocols, they have kept the COVID visiting protocols intact, and they have partnered with a corporation, a telecommunications corporation called Global Tel-Link. A lot of people may know them by GTL, and they are running a scheme to not only charge our family members in order to communicate with us, but they're also keeping us restricted to only 2 hours of visit. If you think, I'm from Detroit. I just told you I'm from the Black Belt. Right now they got me across the Mackinac Bridge in the Upper Peninsula in the prison. That's a 5-hour drive. So you mean to tell me my family's supposed to travel from Detroit up here 5 hours to only visit me for 2 hours and then go back down? That's a 12-hour swing just for 2 hours.
Wow.
So we're running the campaign right now to try to force the Michigan Department of Corrections to get rid of this scheme with this Global Tel-Link and restore the visit back to pre-COVID conditions since COVID is not.
I lost you.
You know, man, what I would like to do is,
Go ahead, because your phone had went out. Go ahead, repeat what you said.
Okay, so what I would like to do is, you know, man, me giving a plug to your viewership, to your listenership, we would like everybody out there to get on board with us with this campaign to restore the prisoner business. That's one of the most important things that we have to keep us sane in here, to keep us connected, is for us to see our parents, for us to see our children, for us to see our friends and family who we grew up with. And these people is trying to throw a monkey wrench in that game. So what we need is help from the people out there. There's a U.S. House representative for the state of Michigan. Her name is Alyssa Slockin. And she's currently running from the U.S. Senate seat for the state of Michigan. What we're trying to do is, or just people who have people in prison or support the campaign, what we're trying to get everybody to send her an email. And the only thing we're trying to have them do is to put the letter V on her email. The V stands for visitation, right? Okay. And then what we're going to do afterwards is we're going to have our representative get with Flossie and let her know that we're behind this visitation campaign, and we want her, Gretchen Whitmer, to get with the Michigan Department of Corrections to put our visits back how they was. So what we want people to do is go into Alyssa Slockin's email, and her email is info@alyssaflockin.com. That's info@ELISSASLOTKIN.org. info@alyssaflockin.org. And when you go on there, you just put a V on there. And the V's going to mean visitation. We're trying to get at least 5,000 V symbols on her email to be part of our campaign, and we're trying to push to correct this injustice, Brother Jew.
That's what's up. And y'all need help. We go try to assist y'all. The people in the chat, go get this. They listening. So y'all are like the get the votes up for her, push her in office.
Right. So first and foremost, because the seat that she's running for, she's currently a U.S. House representative, but she's running for the U.S. Senate seat. That seat is a highly contested seat, with the Democrats and the Republicans, because Trump and his representatives, they trying to snag that seat. And so it's highly contested. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to leverage potential voters, to leverage against Slockins to work on our behalf and serve our interests. And we feel like this is low-hanging fruit. Oftentimes, I think about this rapper Scarface. We are those who's old enough know about the rapper Scarface and him being part of the group The Ghetto Boys. So on one of his albums, The Ghetto Boys Resurrection album, there's a song where Scarface says they only come around to the black vote when they run a campaign and they lack vote. But once you vote them in, they don't know you. Once you vote them in, they can't do jack for you. So what we want to do is be able to expose Alyssa Slockins one way or the other. Either you with us, that is the poor people, the disenfranchised people, or you ain't. So we tired of these people running these campaigns, these Democrats running these campaigns as if they have the interests of the poor people, the working class people, the disenfranchised people, the marginalized people, as if they have our best interests at hand. But every time
you have 1 minute remaining,
we vote for them, we get them in office, then they don't do nothing for us. But what we want to do is we want to get these 5,000 V signatures on her email, these V letters on her email. Then with that, we want to see if she's going to go to work for us to get these visitations restored. And if she will, then we will vote for her. If she won't, then we can expose her to the public to show that she's the fraud, no different than the Republican and the rest of the politicians who say they have our best interests, but they lie to us.
You got to call back too, Bantu. You got to call back. Once the call in, can you?
Will.
Okay, bet. I'll be waiting on you to call back. Appreciate you, brother, for sharing that with us and enlightening the chat.
That's right. Hotel.
Yeah, call right back too. You hear me? where you was at. Oh, tell the people about what went on with your trial. How was they able to frame you like that?
Oh, okay. So what happened with my trial was, again, just like I said, we had this corrupt homicide officer. So everything really kind of hinged on this corrupt homicide officer. And because, I recognized kind of early on that the fix was in, and, I wasn't going easy. It was going to be a fight. So my trial ended up kind of being a circus. I assaulted my trial attorney at trial in front of the jury. And they excluded me from my trial. I couldn't participate in my trial. I was forced to listen to my trial through a speaker within the bullpen.
Get out of here.
Yes. They excluded me from my trial. If they due to my behavior, I guess they expected me just to sit there like a good old nigga and not fight back.
Right.
I'm a fighter. I'm a fighter, so you're not going to take my life. I think about something that the brother Malcolm X said. He said, you don't let these people take your life easily. He said, it's got to be even Steven. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So I fought for my life. I fought for my freedom, and I continue to do so today. But since then, we have had a couple new witnesses coming forward that we're putting forth now who was actually there, who knew I wasn't there because I had an alibi defense. And so we have these new witnesses coming forth, and we also have witnesses coming forth to substantiate that this crooked homicide officer withheld evidence that would have exonerated me. And this officer had a history of withholding what's called in the criminal justice system exculpatory evidence. And exculpatory evidence is evidence that tends to lean towards the innocence of a person, or that's in a person's interest that could sway the jury to find a person not guilty. And on August 19th, when the civil jury just found that this crooked homicide officer withheld evidence in this guy's case, Alexandri Ansari was the guy who was wrongfully convicted. The jury just awarded him $10 million. So I have a similar issue against him, in addition to some of the other wicked things that he engaged in my case. So I'm definitely looking forward to be liberated and further expose this officer for who he is, notwithstanding that he's off the force. He was so corrupt that his own department, the Detroit Police Department Internal Affairs Section, who interviewed him, who was investigating him, rather, filed a complaint with one of the county prosecutor's office to charge him. They found that this man was so foul that he should be charged with a crime. But before they can get there, his union leader convinced him to hurry up and retire.
Oh, straight up.
Yeah. So he retired, and then retired, he turned around and filed a lawsuit on the prosecutor's office, saying that essentially the prosecutor's office was slandering him by exposing him the way they did and forced him out of his job. But the federal judge threw that out, threw his lawsuit out, said it was frivolous.
As he should.
He have a couple more suits pending on him right now for a couple more guys who was exonerated behind his misconduct and corruption as well.
That's what's up. He should be brought to the light and face justice for all the unjust he been doing, and he supposed to be an officer of the law.
Absolutely. And this is something that our brothers and our sisters that's still out there on the street have to recognize, that this system is not based on justice. This system does not have their best interest at hand. So while they out there in the streets, whether they're going to be in the streets or whether they're not going to be in the streets, regardless, what they need to engage in is political education. They need to find ways to raise their consciousness, to know all the ins and outs of this so-called criminal justice system and what the laws are, what the regulations are. So if they are forced to come in contact with this system, they'll be better equipped in order to deal with it.
Let them know that. You took the thoughts out of my head. I was going to ask you to talk to them on that. Keep going, Bantu.
Absolutely. Well, that's important. I mean, that's important. Even if you're in the street, because if you're in the street, it's more likely than not that you're going to come in contact with this system. So, and then coming in contact with the system, you need the tools in your tool belt to know how to deal with this system.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And let them know. Let them. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I want you to lose your stuff. I was gonna tell you. Let them know how what they up against with coming in and getting incarcerated. Once they get incarcerated, how hard it is to fight to prove your innocence, because you proven guilty before you proven innocent.
Oh, absolutely. This entire system from the police to the court to the prison is designed to ensnare you. All of it is a trap. All of it is working against you. In fact, it was designed with us in mind. All these systems was designed with us in mind. Even when you think about the police force came into existence initially as slave catchers. These was the slave catchers that was living, that was being employed in the Caribbean islands and in South America, particularly from in Barbados. And what they did was they sent these slave catchers, because again, they had us as slaves, and our brothers and sisters, whether the audience don't know, we didn't take this easy. We fought. We fought our slavery. They don't put this in the book. They don't talk about this on TV. But all over the Western Hemisphere, we fought these people. So what they did was they imported these slave catchers from Barbados to the United States. And these people started to make up the first police force as we know it in this country, right? So the police is founded or based on slave catchers. So this should tell us something. These people are in existence to keep us enclosed in these little ghettos that they created for us. To keep us in these little ghettos, keep us in our place, and to incarcerate us if we want to come from out of these ghettos or try to make some money to better our conditions, right? And so and the court system becomes no better because the court system is an arm for the police, to keep us yet enslaved in another plantation. If you think about the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution that's so-called supposed to abolish slavery, if your viewers pay attention to the language of this 13th Amendment, it says slavery or involuntary servitude shall not exist except, listen to this word, except you have been duly convicted of a crime. So if you convicted of a crime, the United States can legally, constitutionally put you back in slavery. And that's what they're using these prisons for right now. These prisons, they are just not warehouses, but they are actually plantations. This is a new form of slavery that they're utilizing against us, that they're putting us in. And if they and our viewers need to be careful because now they're going to run another scheme. And the next scheme is to start incarcerating people in open society by way of tethers, because this system is starting to crumble because they don't have the funds to control it. So it's getting out of hand. So now they're going to have to find new ways because the state government is going to stop allocating money or start giving less money to the prison system. So they need to find new ways to incarcerate people, and they're going to do it by tethers. And what we're going to do is we're going to go along with it because we're going to feel like, well, shit, it's better for me to be out here than be stuck in prison. But they incarcerating you out in the open.
Right.
They're forcing you to stay in your house. Only thing you can do is go to work or go to school, and they may give you a couple hours on the weekend out. They're treating us like children. So they finding more and more ways to incarcerate more and more Black people in open society. You
That's
know,
right.
this is what's important for us to continuously raise our consciousness, get together, form political education study groups. It don't matter if you're a gangbanger. It don't matter if you're a gangster. It don't matter if you're a drug dealer, if you're a killer, if you're a robber. It don't matter. You have to raise your consciousness.
For real.
And that's the only way for us to combat these people. You see, they're going to continue killing us out in the streets. There's no way to stop them from killing us out in the streets unless we have our own, unless we police ourselves, you know. But consciousness precedes action, you know.
That's right.
Until we raise our consciousness, we would never have that, and we would always be up against what we up against. Them constantly enslaving us in one way or the other, and us constantly crying out about them killing Pookie in the street or killing Tanya in the street.
Right.
You know, so we have to do better.
And I'm glad you spoke about the gangbangers and the gangsters. Let them know how y'all feel about what's going on in society with our youth killing each other over nothing and disrespecting the dead and all that.
So that's a whole conversation in of itself, right? Because I think one of the main things, at least the brothers and the sisters that come from the camp in which I come from, as you know, I identify as a Pan-African Revolutionary Nationalist. And in doing so, one thing that we recognize historically, that most of the brothers that became revolutionaries, particularly in the 60s and the 70s, that became revolutionaries, that became freedom fighters, that became Black nationalists, they all came from gangs. When you look at the Black Panther Party, right?
Okay.
Much of the Black Panther Party, whether you from the East, the West Coast in Oakland, or the East Coast in Harlem, they was all gangbangers initially at first. But what they did was they raised their consciousness. They raised their consciousness in order to serve their interests, right?
Right.
So there is no conflict, first and foremost, between a gangbanger and being a revolutionary or being a Black nationalist. Let me say that first and foremost. Secondly, one thing that we realized, again, as when I go back to George Jackson, what George Jackson had, what conditions created these gangbangers. So me personally, you know, I don't fall into the trap of blaming the victim because I realized that the brothers and sisters who come from the street, they was put in that environment. Because one thing that I realized that if you create an environment, then you can create the mentality that exists in the environment. So these people created an environment. Not only did they create an environment, they created an entire people. They called them nigger, right? So one thing that we realized that the nigger was scientifically produced by white domination, right? So in this way, we recognize that our brothers and sisters who may be gangbangers, that they are victims. What we need to do is get them to recognize that, right?
Right.
And while we are obviously in opposition to this violence, you know what I'm saying, that we superimpose on each other.
You have 1 minute remaining.
We also understand that without creating these structures, right? Without creating the structures and the basis in which to raise people's consciousness in order to come from out of that mentality, then we doomed anyway. We doomed anyway. So we need to get on the ground. We need to get on the ground and not incarcerate our brothers, not assist the state in further incarcerating and enslaving our brothers and sisters, but to get on the ground with our brothers and sisters, raise their consciousness, and we need to move out from there.
That's what's up. That was you said a mouthful, and that was all real. You got to call back too, homeboy.
All right, I will.
For real, I expect to hear from you later on. I appreciate you, man. You dropped some jewels on the chat today.
That's right. That's right.
Get your
all right. Keep your head up. I'll be back.
I appreciate
Thank you for using GTL.
That was Bantu. He's serving the life bit. He just came to breathe some knowledge on the youth and let y'all know what's going on with the prison system as well as what's going on with corporate America. I like to let y'all know the streets ain't what it is. I appreciate y'all joining the chat. I want y'all to hit that like, comment, and subscribe and share. And know this, it's a million stories in the inner city. This just but one. We just getting started, y'all. I want y'all to stay tuned and tap back in with me and hit that like and subscribe and comment. And let me know what y'all want to hear and what stories y'all want to hear next. Stay tuned. Appreciate y'all. This Juice from the Beat Factory 313 War Stories Podcast. And I'm out.